Today may mark the beginning of the most despised cryptocurrency surge. And these, in my opinion, are indicators that this week will be quite significant for cryptocurrency. In this video, I'll go over a few points. We love to see this much green across the board when it comes to cryptocurrency, but I'll be talking about a lot more topics as well. I will discuss some of the causes that are contributing to this most despised rally. However, I'll also be discussing XRP a little bit more, specifically why it isn't rising at the moment despite Bitcoin recently surpassing $90,000. So let me start by saying hello to everyone on the PepoCoin channel. If you're new to the channel, you will become a subscriber by the end of this video. Additionally, this is definitely one of the greatest times to sign up for the free Discord. In the description below there will be a link. You won't regret joining. There are currently more than 11,500 members. Additionally, it's a fantastic location to be at any time of day. Having stated that, let's get started. We are seeing some great green, as you can see by looking at the hour, day, and even the weekly crypto bubbles. And what's crazy, many ancient coins are beginning to make significant waves in the last hour. We could actually observe those large waves on a daily basis. Some have increased by more than 20%. Some are even more than 20% over the top 100. Some of these gains may appear insignificant even if we examine the top 500. However, when we look at some of them, they are up more than 40% and more than 20%. And it's great to see this. Are many of them still recovering from the low points? Heute 100%. However, it's encouraging to observe that some of them are beginning to make far more progress than others. Additionally, the CoinMarketCap 100 index, which represents the top 100 cryptocurrencies over the past 7 days, has increased dramatically from its lows of about 158 to 171 plus. And if we really examine some of the best performers over the past day, we can see that, Bitcoin has risen more than 90K, while XRP is still lagging somewhat. However, a lot more progress is being made here in all areas. It's encouraging to note that such gains are evident even when examining the top 24-hour gainers. And this, I believe, is the beginning. Since the past few weeks and really the past few months have not been pleasant, I believe that this is the official start of one of the most despised cryptocurrency rallies. However, what am I describing on this channel? The atmosphere is still quite favorable for positive price activity, as I have been stating. We just need to survive the weather, don't we? We must persevere through the storm, and the rewards that lie beyond will be extremely beneficial. There's going to be sunlight. The sky will be clear and blue in the future. And I believe we're witnessing just that. As I previously stated, there are numerous older coins in the XRP space that have not yet experienced a significant recovery. Among them is XRP. The final monthly chart is this one. The final 7 days are now. All we're doing is chopping. All we're doing is sideways chopping. Many individuals are now curious about the precise time of XRP's debut. When will XRP start to rise? Or why is there no surge in XRP? And in this video, I'll go over that. So keep an eye out for it. Let's start with a couple things first though. Firstly, I am not here to tell you, hey guys, guess what I told you. I don't do that here, so no. Being correct doesn't matter to me. And when we consider the actual situation, I attempt to share with you all my thoughts on what's happening in these markets and the reasons why, in my opinion, the markets will remain positive. I might be mistaken. I certainly could be. However, I'm examining this from the standpoint of, what's actually happening behind all of the recent commotion. What have we been listening to? The major banks are all making bear flips. We're in a recession, they're telling you. According to them, the likelihood of a recession this year is over 60%. You were told to short the S&P by Bank of America. The market is usually not over when we start to hear these heavy debates, these heavy headlines from the major banks, and even the mainstream media are beginning to become pessimistic. Additionally, the currency has been plunging, which indicates that asset risk will be quite optimistic. We only needed to endure the storm. As I mentioned on the 17th, it appears that the market is finally coiling up and stabilizing. From here, everyone anticipates that the market will chop further or worse, fall. I believe that this market is going to fire up again in a significant way. Nobody anticipated that the market would flare up as much as it did in November. Many individuals will be surprised by this next action. And I really believe that's precisely what's happening here, particularly with Bitcoin, which is breaking to 90K plus. It's actually quite bullish to see this. And in a moment I will explain why here. Now, stocks were also a major factor today. The opening of the stocks was extremely positive. The daily is visible here as well if we truly look at it. Stocks have opened fairly well thus far. When it comes to stocks, we still have a lot of work to do. Without a doubt, we'll examine that over the week. However, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P have all opened the day extremely well so far. Now, trade agreements are also the cause of several markets' recent significant awakenings. As I have stated, we will eventually witness trade agreements being signed into effect due to the continuous tariff negotiations and trade war. And this was the big one that we really received earlier today. Vice President, also known as J.D. Vance, announced that the terms of reference for the trade negotiations between the United States and India had been formally finalized. Take a look. Both of our governments are working diligently on a trade agreement, as many of you are aware, founded on common goals such as generating prosperity for our employees, establishing long-lasting supply networks, and generating new jobs. Prime Minister Modi and I made excellent progress on each of those areas during our meeting yesterday. Furthermore, we were particularly pleased to declare that the terms of reference for the trade talks between the United States and India had been fully finalized. This, in my opinion, is an essential step, since it lays out a plan for a final agreement between our countries. I think this is an essential step in achieving the goals of President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. Like many of you know. So yes, listen, we've been hearing a lot about the European Union lately, and we're starting to hear a lot more about these trade negotiations. Additionally, we've been hearing about Japan. Regarding trade talks and trade agreements, those were two really constructive actions. We also heard about China, don't we? Therefore, the primary topic of discussion is the conclusion of a trade agreement between the United States and China. That will be a huge stimulus for everything once we have it. Do we now require it in order to start the bull market again? No, but it would be a powerful motivator. I also discussed how the EU, Japan, and even India are turning on signing these agreements in order to keep things going. China will experience the same thing, in my opinion. In my view, that is inevitable. The signing of that trade agreement is just a question of time, and when we do, it will have a significant impact on the entire area. In addition to this, I have been thinking about gold. As you can see from the daily, gold is indeed beginning to decline in value. This is the appearance of the 4-hour. The 12-hour period looks like this. Additionally, it appears to be 1 hour if we move to some of the lower. What I want to see gold do over the next few months is cool off and chop sideways. While I'm not particularly pessimistic towards the metal. Why? Why should we anticipate that? Let's simply go back to 2020 then, if we go all the way back. Okay. This was in 2020 then. Gold had a surge, correct? At this time, everyone was unsure as COVID was only starting to make its appearance on the market. It made a comeback all the way into August, more precisely in the middle of the month. Following that, it sold off, and for a considerable amount of time, in fact the entire year 2022, it just kept chopping. As we can see, gold has been rising for more than a year. Therefore, this is what I want to see right now. You mean since the start of 2024? In fact, gold is presently up more than 76%. Before the gold began to chop sideways, it was up more than 78% back here. For this reason, I'm actually keeping an eye on gold's decline from here, as a lot more money shifts from gold to stocks or possibly cryptocurrency.